Welcome back to the Intentional Household Podcast. Today, I'm joined by Brant Shrimplin, financial expert, entrepreneur, philanthropist, and author of the book, Stop Hitting Snooze, Redefining Happiness and Business Success for a More Purposeful Life. Brant's story is a powerful reminder that success isn't just about what we achieve, it's about how we live, who we impact, and the legacy we leave behind. In his book, he challenges us to step off autopilot and approach life with deeper intention. In our conversation, we'll dive into some of the key themes of Stop Hitting Snooze, finding purpose, the role of friendships. This is an episode about redefining success on your own terms and creating a life of real meaning. So, Brant, thank you for joining us. It's so nice seeing you again. And I'm really excited to talk about your book, which I just loved. I found it inspirational and motivating. And because I know you, I really felt like I could hear your words writing as I was reading it. And I loved hearing it from your perspective. And I just thought that it really shows the kind person you are and the thoughtful leader and parent and husband that you are. So I'm really excited to talk about the book and so listeners can learn more about you as well.
Thank you, Laura. I love all the accolades. I could just sit here and listen to you talk about me the whole time if you want to do that. It's a very nice intro, and it's nice to see you again and be here today.
Thank you. So let's get started. I'd love to hear about your journey and how you got to being successful in building your business to wanting to really redefine what happiness and purpose was for you and success as well.
Yeah, well, really, if we want to go way back, I was just a young kid with a dream from Kalamazoo, Michigan, right in the heart of Midwest. I always tended to do things differently, Laura. The normal model never really fit for me. Which didn't always go well with a mom who was a high school counselor and really wanted me to, I think, take a traditional path to career and life. And, that just was never a good fit for me. So I knew from a young age that I wanted to do my own thing. I wanted to do things differently. And I've been blessed to have a career where I've been able to fulfill some of those dreams, which are unfolding now. And it's been pretty exciting to see.
I should ask, what inspired you to write the book in the first place?
Yes, I'll give you a little of my background. So I have a career in financial services, started in financial services, so traditional financial advisor, which I think a lot of people get the impression that could be a very boring, mundane job that is really poring over numbers, creating spreadsheets, and talking about investment returns. But in reality, it's really being a soundboard for people, helping families through issues they might be going through, friends might be going through, parents might be going through. And so, obviously, after being in the business for 20 plus years, you've been around the block a few times. You've gone through a few different scenarios. And I had gotten invited to a conference down in Necker Island with a group of dad entrepreneurs. And it was really a conference about how to be not only successful as an entrepreneur, but also be successful as a father. And I have two spectacular school-age children. My daughter's 16, my son is 13. And so I thought, I'm going to go down there and I'm going to hopefully learn a little bit about being a better person. And I had an opportunity to speak down there. And I had an opportunity to talk about a friend of mine that was going through a divorce who was really struggling with what his new identity was going to be. He was well connected to his, couple friends, well connected to his church. He was a person of faith. And he was really concerned that, going through this divorce was going to rock every part of his life, which I imagine divorce would tend to do. So when I heard about this, I just decided to sit down one morning and essentially draft a life plan for him, because I thought, wow, if I was going through that situation, how nice would it be for someone to take the time to write out a plan for me? And so it was a friend. At the time, it was not a super close friend that I would have seen on a day-to-day basis, but we went out to dinner later that night. We talked about where he was. We talked about the situation he was in. We talked about where he could be going forward. And we talked about a plan of how to get from A to B. So it was a four-page plan. We had check-ins afterwards, and I really think it opened his eyes to, even though we go through these struggles in life, whether it's divorce or whatever the problem of the day may be, there's always a potential for a better tomorrow. And it was very meaningful and impactful to him and his family. And I was telling this story down at Necker Island to this group of entrepreneurs, and they said, Brant, this is really powerful. You need to put this in a book. Now, mind you, I hadn't read a book in probably 15 years. We go to these conferences, you hear people talk, and everyone says, oh, and you should read blah, blah, blah. And I really did not like traditional academia. If I could have dropped out in high school, I would have. I'm glad I didn't. Same thing with college. I'm glad I didn't. I do have my degree, mind you. But yeah, to me, it was, reading a book, writing a book reminded me of sitting in class for 8 hours a day. And so I thought, maybe there's something to it. If these important people, important to me, thought that I should do it, I kind of took it as a challenge. And I remember one of them saying, well, if you're going to do it, talk is cheap. And so you better do it. And so I walked away with a goal of writing the book, finding a publisher, and then joining this group the next year, book in hand. And that's exactly what I did.
Yeah. And we left with copies of it, right?
Yes, you did. It may have been a signed copy even.
Yes, it is signed.
Yeah. And obviously that's where I had a chance to meet you and to get to know you, and obviously had a great time down there with you guys as well.
Yeah. There's so much wonderful content and takeaways in the book. And hey, you're saying you weren't a book reader and you wrote this book. One of the reasons why I love this book is because it's so easy to read. I think it takes like a day to read, but there are so many takeaways in it and lessons for us that we can implement in our own lives. If I'm correct, the plan that you wrote for your friend, it's the plan that you shared in the book, right? I think there's pictures of it.
I actually took the pictures of the plan with his permission. And I put it in there somewhere in the middle of the book. Yeah.
I think that just sharing that you created that plan for a friend just goes to show the type of person that you are and how much of a role friendship plays in your life. And that is one of the sections of the book where you talk about the importance of friendship to both you and your wife, Lindsay. And one of the things I loved about it is that, you said that even from when you guys were married and then you had your kids, they were young, you and Lindsay still maintained a weekly, not date night, but like friendship night with your friends. So Lindsay had, or probably still has her night, and you still have your night that you've maintained throughout all of these years. Because you've prioritized these friendships. And I value that so much because I think so many of us, moms especially, but also dads, they have kids and they set their friendships aside for many years. And then those friendships may be lost, or they're rebuilding those friendships from many years ago. But there's a lot of time that has passed. But there's so much value in the friendships that we have, that this is something, that you've maintained and that we really need to prioritize. And the friendship that you have brought to so many of your friends and them to you, right? There is so much value in that. So I can really appreciate how you have maintained that priority, right? Like forever, essentially.
Yeah. I mean, think about before you got married, think about your girlfriends, think about, that group, that was everything. And so, it really kind of goes back to those times for me, and seeing some of my friends get married and just kind of disappear. The group goes from 10 to 9 to 8 to 7. And I said to myself, I'm not going to give up these great friendships just because I'm adding an 11th friend, which is Lindsay. Yeah. It just wasn't, we're going to intertwine friends, and we're going to maintain the ones that we have. So I never wanted to be someone that had to trade, marriage or any life event for a great group of people.
Intentional living doesn't mean perfect living. It just means choosing what matters on purpose. Want help making those little shifts in your household? Find tools, downloads, and episodes at intentionalhousehold.com.
I would say years later, inherently, we all know why friends are important. But yeah, like you said, it's really easy to lose track of. When you have a family, you have kids, you can starting businesses or working a job or whatever the case may be. I mean, you're doing a million different things at once, and it's oftentimes one of the easiest things to put on the chopping block. But I realize, over time that, friendships are critical. I had a great friend of mine that I talked about in the book, actually two of them, in my 30s. One of them by the name of Scott Matska. He was a hockey player for University of Michigan. They won a national championship. He went on to play pro hockey. He moved back to my little town of Kalamazoo, Michigan with his then wife, who was close friends with my wife. And we became fast friends, doing everything together, sports, hangouts, bouncing ideas off each other, burning off steam, whatever the thing of the day was. And about a year into our friendship, maybe a year and a half, we were hanging out with our families. Our kids happened to be the same ages. And we were sitting, remember it clear as yesterday, we were sitting on the beach of a local lake. And he's like, Brant, I've got this thing going on with my legs. My muscles have been cramping up. I'm having like twitching, and I'm really worried that it's something serious. And, I'm sure it's nothing, how bad can it be? That kind of a thing. And he's like, well, I haven't told anybody. I've done a lot of research online, and everything keeps pointing me back to something called ALS. And I didn't know a whole lot about ALS. I knew it was Lou Gehrig's disease. I knew it was fatal. I knew it was tragic. I knew it was, a tough road. But I was also just in complete disbelief. Like, there's no way. That's so rare. It's not possible. And fast forward, this is ironically right before the summer of the Ice Bucket Challenge. So he probably told me this in, I want to say like May or June. The Ice Bucket Challenge comes out. I don't know. I'm going to guess July. It was somewhere around that time. And all of a sudden there's all this awareness on ALS, and nobody in our friend group or his family knew that he was having these symptoms. And so fast forward, several months after a long road, he eventually gets a diagnosis. It's a very hard disease to diagnose. And to see the way that his friends stepped up for him as a community, not only his close friends. The hockey family is exceptionally tight. To see all of the former hockey players come from all over the world to support him, family. And it just, it was another reminder to me that it's really important to have a group of people that can lift each other up. And if you don't nurture that and you don't have that, and when we all go through our times of need, we're going to probably wish that we had the same type of people that Scott did to step up for him.
Absolutely. Your book, it was a tearjerker, and there are sad moments, and it was incredible to see the impact of friends coming together to support other friends in times of need and sickness and death, and how you all really were there for one another. Because again, it could have been so easy for you all to lose touch and just stay within your households of raising your young families, leaving him to have so few people or maybe just family there. But the strength of the community and the friends coming together was incredible.
Yeah. And not only that, Laura, not to be Mr. Tragic, but during that time, one of our other best friends that was there to support Scott, unfortunately passed from sudden cardiac arrest. 13-time marathon runner, my attorney, a friend of mine since high school. And to have one of your support team go down while supporting someone else that had a fatal trajectory was duly heartbreaking. So so there was plenty of support needed and plenty of support going around during that time.
It just goes to show that life is too short and there might not be a tomorrow. So if you wait, a year, 2 years more, that time might not be there. So if you have friends, prioritize them as well, because that friendship could be gone sooner than you realize.
Wayne, I know you think the right word is, Laura. It's intentional. And that's why I love, as I got up this morning, gave my kids a hug on the way to school. I was out for a run this morning and thinking about your podcast a little bit today. And I thought, intentional household, that's a cool name, because I think the intentional side of things is where a lot of us have really lost touch. We're running around, we're going from one thing to the next, just kind of rushing and in an unconscious state in a way, and not really thinking enough about, am I really doing the things that I should be doing? Am I really stopping to think and being intentional about the things that are most important to me? So just, wanted to share that, thinking about your name, that thought, that's pretty cool, because I know how intentional you and your husband, Alex, are about all the things that you do. And I think that is a key thing that's missing for a lot of us.
It's true. And so for any families or parents who feel that they just don't have time to prioritize friendship right now, what advice would you give them?
Well, I think the first thing you have to do is step back and look at your day to day and say, how am I spending my time? The first thing you really need to do is take inventory of your actions. Because if you don't know where you're at, there's 0% chance you're going to know where you're going. And so that was really the first thing for me, was how am I really spending my time? So the time management thing was really important. And then the second thing I thought about is, well, what's most important to me? What are my values? It's so, you can ask a kid, what are the most important things in your life? And they'll rattle off, my parents. Okay, so family, my friends, my faith, my sports. So, fitness. And for my daughter who just got 2 jobs, now it's work and career. So, a kid can name these things, but I think we get so caught up in, life that we tend to maybe not forget, but not think enough about what is really truly important to me and how intentional am I being in each of those categories. So for me, I had to take a step back. I had to look at my schedule, literally. And then I had to think about, okay, well, what's most important? For me, I named some of those things. It was family. I want to make sure I was putting in time there. I want to make sure I was being a good friend. I wanted to focus on my faith, which, faith means a lot of different things to a lot of people. But, for me, faith is faith that things will work out. Seeing the best in people, even if someone treats you poorly, understanding they might just be having a bad day and it's not really who they are. Faith that things are just going to work out for the best, no matter how hard things are. Fitness, incredibly important. And that for me includes both physical and mental health. So making sure I'm taking care of that. We've often heard the one thing that we can't buy, and the most important thing that we all have is time. And at least working on your physical and mental health can at least potentially lead to more time. And then career. So those 5 things were the most important to me. And then I ranked myself. I said, if I'm really being true to myself, and, how well am I doing in each of those categories?
New here? Don't stop at this episode. Binge our full archive. From how to find a babysitter to getting the right help for the life you actually want to thriving as a couple, we've got it all at Intentional Household. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen.
I think oftentimes, we can get pretty good at one thing. Just to pick one, maybe that would be career. So we're working hard, we're, starting companies or getting promotions or whatever it might be. And you just keep beating that drum. You just keep leaning into the thing that you're really good at because you can just take it as far as you can take it. But if you're sacrificing those other things that are truly, really important to you, then chances are you're going to have a knot in your stomach somewhere. You might be successful, but are you truly fulfilled and are you truly happy? And I think if you're just beating one drum, unless you're someone where literally just one thing is important to you, then you're not hitting on all cylinders. And so I really had to think about that. And once I identified, the areas that I wasn't maybe an 8 out of 10 at, then I had to look at my schedule and I had to say, okay, how can I be better in these areas? And so I thought about it. I wrote out, a little bit of a plan for myself that I deviate from, but certainly just kind of a baseline plan per week, per month, just to make sure that I was touching on those things that were most important in my life.
Having that list of your values can really help individuals to determine how they should be spending their time. And it can help if someone's invited. I'm just going to say for me, because my health and my sleep are one of the things that are important to me. And in the sleep, it's being in bed by 9 p.m. And so if I am invited, let's just say to a concert, which, okay, that would be fun, but I need to think what matters most to me at this point in my life. If I'm training for something, I want to go to sleep early. Does this fit in with how I want to spend my time? And the answer is no, I don't want to. It doesn't fall into the things that matter most to me. And so it's just a good way for you to filter out the things that are just filling up your time and taking away from your focus.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think that the other thing that kind of dawned on me, I'm a natural give back person and people pleaser and want to help everybody. And I realize, as much as I can do this every day, I have to put myself first, because if I'm not running at my absolute best, then I'm not going to be as effective as I can be in helping other people. So I shouldn't say always gotten up early, but certainly for the last several years, I've gotten up early. I've taken time for personal development first thing in the morning in the way of reading. I immediately either go for a run or work out after that, and then jump into my, typical quote unquote, work, dad, friend, son, husband day after that. And in past years, I may have just woken up and opened my email and done whatever the thing was that was asked. Mm-hmm. But I've just realized that it's really, really important to prioritize yourself and to get that out of the way, at least for me, first thing in the morning. And that's how I'm most effective.
I actually became a morning person as a result of our trip on Necker. The first time we went, I did not wake up early. And then I had woken up early for one of those hikes, for the second hike. And, right. And then from that point forward, I became a morning person actually. And so it's been going strong since that initial trip. But it's because I just see that time as such valuable time when I can fit in things that I want to do for myself.
Yeah. And I like what you said about, and the way I interpret it is saying no to things and getting better at saying no. But it's also okay to deviate from the plan. I never was one that liked to be too structured. So the younger me thinking about me making a plan for my day would have been absolutely nauseating. I wanted to wake up and have absolutely no idea what every single day was going to bring. But I realized that wasn't necessarily always leading to the best results. I could get away with that. I could still function at a pretty high level. But even though I have, this baseline or base case of what my week looks like, if I get a call from a friend that I haven't seen in a long time that wants to go to the concert at 9 and I was supposed to work out the next day, I'm going to go to the concert. And I'm going to enjoy it.
You're more fun than I am, Brant.
I'm just less focused than you. Maybe that's what that says. But I give myself a lot of grace, and I think that's important. Yeah. I think we're all too hard on ourselves, and so if you miss the workout, you get to bed at 10. It's okay. Just try not to make a habit of it.
Yeah.
Even for you, it's okay, Laura. Even for you.
I actually went to a concert on Saturday. I was like, oh, I'm so tired.
Right. Yeah.
And so I made a note. I don't think I get to go to a concert for a while.
Hey, you got it out of your system. You were reminded of what you didn't need to do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But, I think for the people who are naturally not structured, it's still possible to thrive with structure while allowing for flexibility. And even within that framework, or let's just say certain blocks of time to be free, or time to get lost, or time to, do whatever it is you need to do, be spontaneous. But it can be done in a routine or structured manner.
It can. And that I love that, because that was probably the biggest. Well, there's two huge takeaways that I had from spending a couple of weeks with Richard Branson. One of them was that he takes 3 hours a day just to think. He spends 3 hours a day in thought. And, we were doing those Q&As and chatting with him, and I was like, how can this guy with 400 companies and all these philanthropic endeavors spend 3 hours a day in thought? I thought, that's absurd to me. And so, getting back to that word intentional, I thought, okay, I have to create time in my schedule where I'm just out there by myself. And usually for me, this could be part of, a run or a walk, or part of a different activity that kind of coincides with just having a free mind. And what I found is that's when all of my best ideas came to me. And so I do think it's really, really important to, just to create that space to let ideas and thoughts come to you. And then the other thing, kind of a sidebar on him was just, and I don't know if this struck you as well, I thought I was doing a halfway decent job of physical fitness, but then I'm trying to chase this, well-fit 75-year-old around an island riding bikes up, what felt like cliffs to me and doing these hikes and all the things. And, it's just so inspiring to me to see someone with that much drive to stay in shape at that age and to still be doing all the other things he did. So those two things really stuck out to me about spending some time with him.
There are so many takeaways from him leading by example. And in regards to the 3 hours of thinking, I think it's so easy for people to say, yeah, well, he's a billionaire, so he can. But on the flip side, it's so easy for him having 400 companies to fill up his calendar. And there are so many people who, if they aren't or weren't intentional about their time, they would not have the 3 hours despite the amount of money that they have, because having the money doesn't free up your time unless you make a conscious effort. Yeah. And then the second excuse that it's so easy for people to have is that, when it comes to fitness, it can be so easy for people to say, yeah, well, I'm in my 40s, I'm in my 50s, or rather, I'm in my 60s or my 70s now. Yeah, sure. It's easy for you to do that in your 40s or 50s, but I'm a 60 or 70-year-old person now, and I'm too old for that. And he was such a great example of how there were 40, 50-year-olds there who are fit, and he left everyone in his dust. Everyone was struggling to keep up with him. Absolutely. And so it really doesn't matter what your age is. He put the time in to commit towards his health, and look at him. He's a perfect example of having the time because he was intentional about it and taking care of his health.
Absolutely. Yeah. You get up with him at, 5:30 in the morning, you take a bike ride straight up a hill. I mean, I literally thought I was going to die on that bike ride, and I'm in pretty good shape. I had to get off the bike a number of times, and then we finally get to the top of the hill at the lookout, and then he just goes barreling down the other side of the hill. And I'm like, there's no way I'm chasing him down there. And then, sure enough, half hour he comes back. We get, back to, the conference at 10 or whatever time it is. And then who wants to go kite surfing? Who wants to play tennis? Who wants to play pickleball? Who wants to, I think the only thing he sat down for was a game of chess every once in a while. And just to see that level of fitness and commitment at any age, let alone, your mid 70s is inspiring. And I think that, the takeaway from that is anything in the any step forward in terms of fitness is a step in the right direction. And even if you're just making incremental gains, they're gains you wouldn't have otherwise had. So I think even if it doesn't make you feel better physically, there's such a huge mental health component to physical fitness that if it makes you feel just a little bit better mentally, then it's time well spent.
Exactly. If you've ever thought, why do I keep reacting like that? Or why do I get so annoyed? You're not alone. That's where the Print Survey comes in. The Print Survey helps you understand your unconscious motivators, the hidden why behind your behavior. It's one of the most powerful self-awareness tools we use at Intentional Household, especially when helping families and household support work together within the household. You'll uncover what motivates you, what derails you, and how to parent and partner with more empathy and ease. Take your Print Survey and start showing up with intention. Email us at info@intentionalhousehold.com to get started. We actually have Liz Carente, Dustin Carente's wife. She's coming on in a couple of weeks, and we're talking about the connection between like having the support, like for physical health, but the mental component as well. Because as much as I think it is for my own fitness, there's so much clarity that I get mentally afterwards.
Agree. Yep. Couldn't agree more.